They say it would take 6.5 million years for an average person to reach Elon Musk's wealth. In short, becoming one of the wealthiest people on the planet isn't something we can achieve easily. But how about earning $1 million? That's easier, right? Well, let's crunch the numbers. If you're an average engineer earning $80,000 annually, it will take you 16 years just to make $1 million. And that doesn't even consider expenses like rent, food, and the cost of living. If you diligently save 10% of your earnings yearly, reaching $1 million would take you 156 years. If you're an ordinary teacher, it would take 217 years. So what can you do? How do you become rich? Is it possible to earn $1 million now just by going to your 9-to-5 job? If you suddenly become unemployed, how long can you survive with just your savings? The book Rich Dad, Poor Dad holds the key to financial intelligence that you might not know while in school and growing up. It teaches you the financial wisdom that wealthy families have handed down to their children and children's children. The reality is many people are stuck on how they can grow their wealth. But this will all change once we understand how money works and how to use it to our advantage. But before we discuss this book, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell button so you won't miss any videos like this. Rich Dad, Poor Dad narrates the tale of two fathers, each with a distinct approach to life. One father took pride in all his degrees and diplomas, while the other was a high school dropout. The contrast between them becomes evident in their legacies. One leaves behind piles of debts, while the other, known as Rich Dad, becomes one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii and passes on his empire to his children. Rich Dad became a mentor to two boys, guiding them on a journey to maximize their intellectual potential within the finite time they have, emphasizing the creation of wealth through investments and business ventures. The difference between the two fathers is reflected in their perspectives. Poor Dad often expressed beliefs like, "I'll never be rich," and unfortunately, these thoughts came true. In contrast, Rich Dad, even after facing bankruptcy and having nothing left in his bank account, maintained the mindset of being a rich man. He believed that being broke was not a permanent thing, but that being poor was something that could last a lifetime. Lesson 1 from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. In contrast, the poor and the middle class often find themselves working for money. When Robert Kiyosaki, the author, was just 9 years old, he and his best friend Mike asked Rich Dad, Mike's father, how to make money. They soon found themselves working in Rich Dad's companies. But Robert faced a challenge, a meager salary of 10 cents a week. With each passing week, he thought of just quitting. But Rich Dad taught them that life pushes everyone around and that giving up or fighting is a choice. The wealthy view challenges as learning opportunities, while many others leave their jobs due to insufficient pay. People often fall into the trap of working hard for little money, clinging to the illusion of job security, 3 weeks of vacation, and a modest pension. Their lives are controlled by fear and greed. The fear of not having enough money drives them to work harder. Then Rich Dad decided to cut down the boys' wages to zero, forcing them to work solely for knowledge. They were challenged to think of ways to generate their own income. Inspired by finding old comics, they opened a business, a library in their basement. Charging classmates 10 cents for entry, they soon earned $9.50 a week without actively working. This marked the beginning of their journey towards not working for money, but making money work for them. You can learn from this that having a job is only a temporary solution to meet immediate expenses. The best thing to do is to build your net worth. The paradox is that as you earn more, your expenses tend to rise in tandem, often driven by human nature influenced by both fear and desire. Once caught in this cycle, where increasing income leads to escalating expenses, individuals find themselves compelled to work for someone else for the rest of their lives. Breaking free from this pattern becomes difficult for achieving financial independence and building sustained wealth. Lesson 2 in the book is the importance of teaching financial literacy, which lies in understanding that it's not about how much money you make, but rather how much money you keep. Sadly, the education system primarily focuses on training individuals to be good employees, falling short of preparing them to be good employers. The responsibility to learn personal finance and wealth building falls on individuals. One of the foundational elements of financial literacy is discerning the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset increases your wealth, while a liability takes money out. Rich people prioritize acquiring assets, whereas the poor and the middle class often mistake liabilities for assets. For a poor person, cash flow revolves around a job, salary, and living paycheck to paycheck. The middle class's cash flow is often tied to liabilities like home loans, car debt, and credit cards. On the other hand, the rich constantly seek ways to grow their asset columns. A critical point is that your home is not an asset. A house can lead to building a liability rather than an asset. Examples of tangible assets include apartments generating rental income or businesses not requiring direct involvement. Many people struggle due to financial illiteracy, often misinterpreting the relationship and differences between the balance sheet and the income statement. Lesson 2 emphasizes the need to focus on assets that generate cash flow while minimizing expenses and debts. This is why people often find themselves trapped in the rat race, working for the company, the bank, if in debt, and the government through taxes. Remember that life's essence lies not in the amount of money you earn, but in how much money you retain and for how many generations it sustains. Achieving this longevity and stability hinges on financial literacy, particularly in understanding the relationship between assets and liabilities. While the wealthy focus on building and acquiring assets, the poor and middle class often accumulate liabilities, mistakenly believing them to be assets. Thus, mastering the distinction between assets and liabilities is fundamental to securing financial well-being and establishing a legacy of wealth across generations. The third lesson you'll learn from the book is mind your own business. The rich know where to put their minds. They focus more on their asset columns, while others predominantly concentrate on their income statements. Robert Kiyosaki's early jobs were not fancy and impressive. He worked as a photocopier salesman for Xerox, but it served as a stepping stone to building his asset column. Using his earnings, Kiyosaki strategically invested in apartments. Within 3 years, the income generated from these investments exceeded his salary. So without second thoughts, he left his job and dedicated himself to managing his business full-time. Some people may have difficulty learning what is considered real assets. To give you an idea, these are business ventures that don't require you to be involved 24/7. Others consider them passive incomes like stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes or IOUs, royalties from intellectual properties, and anything else producing income or appreciating in value, such as cryptocurrencies. The fundamental principle is to ensure that once a dollar enters your asset column, you strive to keep it there. Treat every dollar invested as an employee, contributing to the growth of your asset column. The beauty of money lies in its ability to work for you continuously, 24 hours a day, and potentially for generations. By consistently feeding your asset column and allowing money to work for you, you can create a pathway to sustained financial success and a lasting legacy. What you'll get from this is to distinctly separate your profession from your business. Many middle-class people tend to center their attention on their professions, dedicating their lives to building someone else's business. In contrast, the rich prioritize building their own businesses. Your profession primarily contributes to the income section of your personal income statement. In contrast, your business revolves around the asset column on your balance sheet. Recognizing and maintaining this separation is vital for achieving financial success and ensuring that your efforts are directed toward building your own wealth rather than solely contributing to someone else's. If you're enjoying this video and want to learn more lessons from the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, stay tuned for part 2. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button to stay updated on new videos.